Hola. Today on the show, I'm in conversation with Daniel Moden from Oxford, United Kingdom. He's a teacher by profession and he loves to travel. He's a long-distance cyclist, an ultramarathon runner, an environmental activist who leaves no stone unturned to reduce his carbon footprint. In 2016, he challenged himself by taking up a journey on his cycle all the way from Canada to Peru and successfully completed it in 11 months. In 2018, he challenged himself again and took up a journey on his bike all the way from Bulgaria back to his home country, that is United Kingdom. Up next, he talks about all of his experiences and wonderful memories from these trips. So, what according to you is the key to paddling long distances?
I guess it's a personal thing. I'm lucky that I tend to not get injuries and tend to have good health. So the physical side of things kind of takes care of itself for me. But that's why I was able to do that. Say that 30-day mad rush across Europe, and I've got through it pretty much unscathed. But certainly on the longer trip, I think looking after your mental well-being is really important, and particularly for someone who travelled most of the time alone. Certainly cycling I did by myself. I really found my mood could change across the trip, and you'd have good times where it was easy and bad times where it was quite hard. So I think the key is when you're having the hard times is to get through those hard times and work out what it is that is going to maintain your mental well-being, your mental stability, I guess, because when you have hard times, it can be really tough, and particularly when you're there by yourself and you feel like, oh, I'm on my own, and I've got to get through this. What resource am I going to call from? Going to rely upon to pull through this tough time? That can be quite hard. So I think you've got to work out what it is that maintains your kind of mental well-being. And for me, as I keep alluding to it, it's about having strong social encounters, that connection with people. So I tried to use warm showers as much as possible. The cycling network whereby people let you stay in their homes, and I could see really clearly there's a really strong correlation between the times when I had lots of warm shower days, is where I was really inspired by the trip, and I was really thriving in the trip. And those stretches on the road where I had few encounters with people and few warm shower stays, those are the times where I really struggled. So I guess the key is, particularly for someone who travels alone, is factor in as much social contact as you can, and try to use warm showers as much as possible. If you are in remote regions, when you see people, try and stop and have a conversation with them. And you can cycle past people and say, hi, how are you doing? Nice to see you. But sometimes it's really important to stop and actually just talk to people and strike up a conversation. And I guess that can be hard if you don't have a shared language. I mean, as I said before, my Spanish was okay, so I could have the conversation in Spanish. But I could imagine if you're in a country where you don't speak the local language and the people there don't speak your language, that could be quite hard. So I am thinking about doing a trip in the hopefully not too distant future where I'll be travelling through lots of countries where I don't speak the local language. I wonder how hard that might be to maintain my mental well-being, but for me it's all about the mental side, really. So,
Right. So, can you share any one memorable incident that you remember from your journeys?
Yeah, I think the most curious and most memorable experience for me was when I first crossed into Mexico. So I emailed ahead to a warm showers contact and said, look, can I stay with you when I cross into Mexico? I'll be looking for a place to stay. And he got back to me and said, look, Daniel, I'm really sorry, but I'm going to be out of town for those days when you're coming to my town. So what I'm going to do is post on Facebook that you're crossing into Mexico and you need some help. So I'll let my local community know that you're coming, and I'll just see if people can help you. And I didn't think anything was going to come of that. But then in the first couple of days when I crossed into Mexico, I kept having these encounters with complete strangers who knew of me, who knew that I was coming, and this was so strange, coming to a new country where you didn't know anybody in the world in Mexico. And right from the border guard, the guy who stamped my passport into coming into Mexico, he said, Daniel, so you're from England, right? We've been expecting you. Where's your bike? And it was so nice to be welcomed. And it happened a couple more times in the first 2 days, whereby a guy drove past me in his car, honking on his horn, and then he pulled over, and I thought, oh my God, what's this guy want? He's going to ask me for some money, or he wants my wallet, or whatever. He said, Daniel from England, right? Oh, we've been expecting you. And it happened again 2 hours later. This guy was hitchhiking to the next town. He waved me over and said, hi, Daniel from England. And it was just crazy. I knew nothing about Mexico. I knew no one in Mexico, but they knew that I was coming from this guy having posted on Facebook. And I was a little bit nervous crossing into Mexico because of all this kind of stereotyping of Mexico being this dangerous place. You would be in the borderlands of this dangerous country. But it just flips the whole kind of narrative for me. It was just, I felt so welcome when I first came to Mexico. In the first few days, there was a few times where I was, I'd get up to pay for my meal in a restaurant, and it'd be like, you don't need to pay. And just these random acts of unconditional kindness, almost brought me to tears a few times. Genuinely, I just lost for words of how grateful I was and how thankful I was that these people were helping me. That wanted nothing back. They were just doing out of the kindness of their hearts, and those random acts of kindness that I had in northern Mexico and those encounters with people that knew me out of the blue were just incredible. Yeah.
Right. Quite a celebrity moment for you.
Yeah, quite a celebrity. Yeah.
So for your journey, which cycle did you use, and which is the cycle you recommend for beginners?
Okay, yeah, I mean, you're talking to someone who's really not a technical expert here, so I'll do my best. But so I bought a touring bike. So I bought a steel frame touring bike, which is not the lightest bike, but I wanted something that would be strong and resilient. When I first bought it, I had no idea that I'd been doing so much cycling through gravel tracks and off road and kind of gravel tracks through mountains. So I was really glad in retrospect that I'd gone for a steel bike, because they're quite tough, and I knew that if something did go wrong with the bike, then you can always, you wouldn't want to have to do it, but you can always do some welding on a steel bike, so you could always have that fixed. But so far so good. After a couple of tough tours, the bike has held up really well. And I went for a classic 4-pannier setup, so 2 rear panniers, 2 panniers on the front of the bike. I would never travel more than 2 back panniers. I felt that having the experience of being on the tour, that 2 back panniers were certainly enough. I have a bar bag as well. I just think the more panniers you carry with you, the more storage you carry, the more stuff you're going to carry. And I like to travel as light as possible, really. I would forsake a few luxuries to have a lighter bike, and then perhaps have it a little bit rougher at camp or whatever. But yeah, I would never have known that until I went on tour. So I'm always recommending you to have a classic 4-pannier setup. You're going for a long time, you must have 4 panniers. But I tried that. I would now recommend to people, get 2 panniers to start off with, do perhaps a few mini tours to begin with, and see how you get on with 2 panniers. If you find you need more stuff, then yeah, maybe go to more panniers. But if you can stick to 2 panniers and maybe a bar bag or some of the kind of setup, then I think that's what I would recommend. I do like a classic touring bike setup, but I know lots of people are going for the bike packing setup, which I don't know so much about. But yeah, do your research, but get lots of information, I would say. Each person will have their own personal opinion about what works best for them. There's going to be a lot of opinions out there. The best thing to do is get a basic setup, try it, and then fiddle with it and try different setups, different configurations. But perhaps don't go all in and buy all this really nice storage gear or this really nice stuff if you don't really need it. I think when you're planning for your first trip, you're going to go on these nice glossy websites which will be telling you, oh, you need this gear, this ultralight, super expensive gear. Nah, you don't need all that stuff. You can get by on cheap stuff if needs be. It's nice to have some expensive stuff, because if you buy expensive stuff, generally you get what you pay for. It's lighter stuff that's going to last a long time, but you can't all afford the most expensive up-to-date gear. Work with the basics and then see what you need from that. Yes.
Right. So when you're riding long distance, do you follow any specific diet plan?
Eat as much as you can. No, I don't really. I mean, you burn a lot of calories, so yeah. I mean, I'm vegetarian now, but I wasn't when I was on my trip, so I tended just to eat what the locals did. I guess for me, part of the appeal of travelling is to, as far as possible, immerse you in the local culture. So I would eat what was locally available. So no, I didn't have a specific diet plan, but I think a real pleasure for me, a real joy of travelling is to try local culture through food. So yeah, I mean, I try to travel as cheaply as possible. So I've tried to wild camp as much as possible and save my costs on accommodation, but I like to eat out at local restaurants and cheap restaurants and eat as the local people did. But yeah, you need to keep in good shape on the trip, so you can eat quite a lot and get away with it, because you're going to burn off the calories, but make sure you get plenty of fruit so you get the vitamins and things like that. You need to maintain your vitality is important. I would. You have to eat what's available to you, and sometimes if you're cycling through mountain villages in the Andes in Peru, there's not going to be a lot available to you. So you might not always be able to get fresh fruit or all the kind of balanced diet that you need. But when you can, try to eat well-balanced diet, so have some protein, have some carbohydrates, have some fats, and have lots of vitamins when you can. But you can't always have that, so you might have some stretches have lots of carbs and lots of starch, which is not ideal. But just getting enough calories a day is important, and then when you can balance your diet, obviously you do balance it. But yeah, getting the calorific intake is important to keep you going. Okay.
So when you're cycling, you're, as it is, getting quite a bit of exercise, but do you feel the need to get some variation and try any other routine in terms of exercise?
I'd like to say that I stretched a lot at the end of rides, but the honest truth is, by the end of the day, the end of a ride, I'm too tired to stretch a lot of the time. No, I think for me the cycling was exercise enough. But then factoring rest days, I think when I first started my trip, my long trip, I didn't take enough rest days at all. So the first month I had one rest day, the second month I had another rest day, and that's just not sustainable. So I think for me a good balance was, on a long tour would be 5 days of cycling, then 2 days of rest. But then obviously on those days of rest, you perhaps do some walking, do some kind of, so you're just out exercising, you're not in the same kind of posture as you are in cycling all the time. But now, as I'm at the ripe old age of 43, I'm aware that perhaps I'm not going to be naturally as flexible as perhaps when I was 23. So I've started doing things like yoga and kind of stretching, a bit more conscious of stretching. And I think if I did do another tour, which I'd like to do sometime soonish, hopefully, I would carry on doing yoga, perhaps on rest days, and so be mindful of strategies. But I think, particularly younger people, you can get away with just cycling, and your body's gonna recuperate on rest days. But I think it's a good idea, definitely, to do stretches and different kinds of exercise. But the honest truth is, I didn't really do that. But I would certainly be more mindful of it going forwards, I would say.
Right. So with that, we are at my last question, and that is, if you can say a few words for your fellow cyclists.
Okay, well, I would just say that if you're about to embark or think of embarking on a cycle tour, you're about to embark on something that is really, really an incredible experience, and I think you're really brave for doing that. And if you're in the initial planning stages of doing a bike trip, it can seem quite overwhelming, and there's so much information out there that can help you with planning a bike tour, but it can seem overwhelming. I would just reassure you that actually I found that the planning stage was the hardest bit, and trying to work out what do I need, how much is my budget going to be. Just be rest assured that actually once you get out on your tour, actually things become a lot more simple, and the daily routine and the daily things that you need to think about on a tour are actually a lot more simple than at the planning stage. And obviously when you're on the bike all day, you've got so much time to think about those things. So particularly as people on the planning stage, stick with your planning. Be aware that for a lot of us, actually the planning, it can be a process that takes months and years to get the plan together and to actually get the financial resources together. It's so worth it. It's so worth putting in all that time of planning and of saving. What you will embark on is an incredible experience. So stick with your planning, stick with your saving. Be ready to make the sacrifices, because when you do go on tour, it's an amazing thing to do. It's an amazing experience that you will have. And I just wish you all the best of luck. It's a great thing you're doing. I wish you the best of luck with whatever your endeavours will bring you.
Wow, thank you. Those were wonderful words. It was absolutely wonderful talking to you, and thank you so much for taking out the time to have this chat with us.
Thank you for inviting me. I really enjoyed sharing my humble experiences, so thank you for the opportunity.